कसम है इसमें उजाड़ेगा कुछ कमाल नहीं, कसम है इसमें उजाड़ेगा कुछ कमाल नहीं, उरूज से को मिला माँ तेरी दुआ से, तेरी दुआ से, माँ तेरी दुआ से।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another edition of News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. My name is Yunus, and I will be in your company for the next 2 hours. I will be interviewing some guests shortly. Today, the date is the 27th of November 2024, and the Islamic date being 26 Jamadul Ula 1446 AH. Alhamdulillah, we had some nice rainfall after lunch this afternoon and pelting down in the evening, both in Durban and Peter Marisburg. Alhamdulillah, we're receiving good rainfall during the summer months. But the irony of it all is that because of our infrastructure challenges, there's water curtailment programs, and I heard in the news that there's also, shortages of water in certain parts of the country, notwithstanding the heavy rainfall. So we're facing a lot of crises that we're going to have to deal with. And this is part of our program of analyzing our service delivery challenges at a municipality level. And we invite regularly in the studio guests from various ratepayer associations to discuss the problems and the potential solutions. Now, Mufti AK has just completed his program, and I thought, let me do an introduction. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and we'll have some guests chatting about that. Our popular subject on this show is, service delivery, so we're going to discuss the government's oversight on service delivery, and we'll have a few members of parliament chatting on that issue. And we'll also discuss civic-related issues. What are the problems still troubling residents in the various wards? So I have guests from the civic associations and ratepayer associations. I have a member of parliament, 2 members of parliament from national legislature, and we will be chatting about these various subjects later on in the show. The show is interactive, and we welcome your comments, which can be sent to us on the studio WhatsApp number 060-9041056. It's Isha time now, Azan Isha and the Salah. So we'll break for the Isha, Azan and Salah, and inshallah we'll continue our show after Isha.
This Adhan is sponsored for the Isale Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Farooq Latib and all Marhumin. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest abode in Jannah. Ameen.
أعزائي المستمعين، حان الآن موعد أذان العشاء لمدينة دربن وما حولها.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This dua brought to you by Simplex Radio, South Africa's leading retailer of appliances, car sound and home theater systems.
These surahs after Azan are brought to you by Amina's Wonder Spice and Wonder Dates, 9 Peters Road, Springfield, Durban.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس.
This salah is proudly brought to you by Khan's Chemical Industry. May this salah enlighten your soul and bring about endless blessings throughout your day.
الله أكبر. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا لك الحمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم سبحان ربي العظيم. سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا لك الحمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى سبحان ربي الأعلى. الله أكبر. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
This salah was proudly brought to you by Khan's Chemical Industry. May this salah enlighten your soul and bring about endless blessings throughout your day.
Having a clean, comfortable home is every homeowner's pride. That's why Khan's Chemicals have developed and manufactured prime yet affordable quality household brands Starlight, Miracle Mum, Exterminate, and Angie to care for your home and family. With a wide range of fabric softeners, dishwashing liquids, bleachers, and all-purpose cleaners, pine gels, bubble baths, and much more, Khan's Chemicals ensures your home remains our #1 priority. For sales and other inquiries, call 011 933 4021. Khan's Chemicals, cleaning your home the way you want.
November is here with unbeatable savings from Simplex Radio.
Save 500 Rand on the Kenwood home mixer, now just 1799.
The D5 4.7-litre air fryer is only 799, saving you 400 Rand.
Philips irons starting at just 299 Rand.
Plus save 300 Rand on the Midea 20-litre microwave, now only 799 Rand.
Don't wait. These incredible deals won't last long.
Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Attention shoppers, this Black Weekend, get ready for unbelievable savings at Randry Jewelers. For 3 days only, from 29th November to 1st December. Enjoy 50% off on exquisite gold and diamond jewelry, a dazzling 60% off on silver jewelry, and 50% off on selected luxury watches. Don't miss this chance to sparkle and save big. Visit Randry Jewelers in Musgrave, Durban, and make your holiday shine brighter than ever. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Radio Al-Ansar.
Accept as a mercy to the world. اٹھو بے سہارو چلو غم کے مارو خبر یہ سناؤ حضور آ گئے 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 انوکھا نرالا خوشی شان آیا وہ سارے رسولوں کے سلطان آیا سلطان آیا بادشاہ ہو کج بلا ہو نگاہیں جھکا ہو حضور آ گئے 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 ہوا چار سور ہے امتوں کا بسیرا اجالا اجالا سویرا 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 حلیمہ کو پہنچی خبر آمنہ کی میرے گھر میں آؤ حضور آ گئے ہیں حضور آ گئے 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 حضور آ گئے. Abundant salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who lives in the hearts of people.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al-Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. Before the Isha Azan and the Nasheed, I just introduced our subject for this evening. I'll repeat it. We're going to have guests talking about the 16 days of activism against GBV, gender-based violence, government oversight on service delivery, and we have some Ratepay Association members. And we're generally going to talk about civic matters tonight. Some of the guests tonight would be our economist and asset manager, Hassan Mutala. He'll be joining us shortly. We have the secretary of the Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association, Trinisha Bachu, who will give us an update on civic issues relating to the area of Springfield. After the news break at 9, we will be joined by Member of Parliament in the National Legislature, Brother Imran Subrati. And we will also be joined by a member of the National Legislature, Fasia Hassan. And Fasia will be chatting about activism against GBV, as well as giving us an update on government's oversight on service delivery. Imran will give us updates on how his office plans to improve service delivery in the eThekwini region, because he's been deployed as an MPL to oversee service delivery in and around KwaZulu-Natal. So after the news break, we'll chat with him and our economist, Brother Hassan Mutala. Now, there were concerns about the functioning of the NPA and the slow progress in prosecuting cases. And South Africans aren't impressed with Advocate Shamila Batoy. And she mentioned that, it takes time to prosecute people. But I just want to go through some breaking news on, the arrests that have taken place recently in South Africa. Arrested United Aviation Group CEO Jonathan Wolper for duping DRC government for millions. SARS raided the house of Sean Mkhize, also known as Impasan, and we know that there were some issues related to this matter where an advocate was shot, etc. And that's making headlines in the news. Former SAA board member and state capia accused Yake Kwinana was arrested. A Mozambique national who is said to be a kingpin in kidnapping in South Africa was arrested in KZN. This is huge. A South African police officer was also arrested with him. We know that there's been a lot of kidnappings that are going place recently, and it's cause for concern. Boss of G4S, Mark Llewellyn Kanamea, who is implicated in illegal dealing and possession of firearms and ammunition, was arrested. Multiple factories and houses in KZN were busted, manufacturing various illegal products. Dozens of foreign nationals arrested in these raids. One suspected kidnapper shot dead, and others arrested just before they could execute a kidnapping in Benoni. Botswana policemen arrested in Limpopo for corruption. Now, this is just a few of the successes authorities has, especially the SAPS, just in one day. Now, they are all fed up with crime, but credit must be given to Senzo Mkhunu. He's the new Minister of Security, and it's led by SA Police Service, who have major success, including Hawks, SARS, and various other institutions. Senzo has mentioned, he's the Minister of Police, that we have turned the corner. The battle will be won. The energy levels of all authorities under GNU government led by Saviour of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, has been brilliant. So we know that the GNU is under considerable attack, and all attempts are being made to undermine the functioning of the GNU. And this is cause for concern because, the opposition parties, are prepared to take on the GNU. And we know that in KZN, the province of national unity is administering KZN. So basically, we have the MK party. They are planning to dismantle KZN GPU ahead of local government elections in 2026. Now, we were chatting about local government elections and the need to prepare for those elections immediately because there's a lot of work required for those elections. So with me in the studio, as I've mentioned, on a weekly basis, I will be interviewing representatives from the various ratepayer association. And last week we had more than 4 representatives. This week, we have Trinisha Bachu. She is the secretary of the Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association. She kindly joined us live in the studio. Good evening, Trinisha, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Good evening, Mr. Sacoor. Good evening to the listeners out there. Thank you to Al Ansar for giving us the opportunity to come in and share our concerns regarding the civic issues that we do face.
Trinisha, I know that back in the day when I was in government, I used to interact with the Asheville Ratepayers Associations, and I used to come regularly to the David Land or Community Center where we used to meet with the ratepayer associations headed by individuals like Amar Larnachan and various other, Swami Gawandan, etc. And those were the veterans of this area. They were part of the struggle. But I believe now, because of the size of the area, you've got over 20 roads that you'll look after. It was considered appropriate that Springfield controls those areas and Asheville controls the other areas. So perhaps you just want to give us an indication which areas you cover in Springfield, so those listeners that are listening to us know that if there are issues relating to service delivery in that particular area, they know who to contact. Perhaps if you can just give us an indication.
Okay, so we actually take care of approximately 19 roads in the Springfield areas. Some are, to name a few, is Protea Road, Foxglove Place, Lotus Road, Dahlia Road, and we're also assisting Cope Road, Alpine Road, and Londonderry Crescent at the moment. These are just a few of the roads, but they are 19 roads that we take care of as a Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association, which forms part of Ward 25.
Now, I believe that you'll have a considerable membership of interested residents and ratepayers as part of the Springfield Civic Association. You'll have regular meetings, you'll have regular interaction. Perhaps you want to give us an indicator how many members you'll have and how interested are these members in civic affairs?
Okay, so we have more than 600 residents in the Springfield area, 600 homes actually in the Springfield area. Our association is made up of 7 executive members, and we are in the process of co-opting new members as well. We have the young and vibrant youngsters in our area that also play a huge role in assisting where municipality and departments fail and lack in their duties as well. So our community is a small community, but we really come together in times of disaster and needs, and we all come together, and it's actually an act of humanity that we all play roles in the area to assist the elderly, the young folks, and everybody that's in need.
Now, I note that you'll have a chat group, and you'll have quite a large number of members, more than 800, and there's a lot of issues that are being raised. Now, before I ask you on the kind of issues that are commonly being raised in the area, we know crime is a huge problem. We know water and electricity outages, and we'll unpack that a little bit later. But, if you can tell me what is sort of your interaction with the ward and PR councillor, because they are elected and representative in council, and they do have war rooms, etc. So what's your interaction with them?
Okay, so we do have a war room meeting where our representatives from the Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association do attend. Our PR councillor is Subu from the DA party, and our councillor at the moment is Temba Mkis, which is the ANC party. But unfortunately, we do have a lack of participation from our local councillor. So that is why the Ratepayers Association plays a significant role in assisting the community due to the lack of help from the local councillor himself.
Now, if you can briefly unpack the ward that Springfield is located in and the areas this ward covers over and above the 19 roads in Springfield, so that it gives an indication to our listeners out there living in the area the kind of a preparation they require for local government elections. So firstly, which ward and which areas form part of the ward?
Okay, it's Ward 25, and they cover from Clear Estate, Springfield, Pantons Hill, so that's the 3 areas that Ward 25 falls under.
Okay, so obviously when you all are preparing for local government elections with a view to identifying a potential leader, you have to establish the residents or the ratepayers and registered voters living in these three areas. And coincidentally, all three areas are surrounded with informal settlements, and it's a challenge because they have requirements and you'll have to deal with them. Now, what are the common issues that the residents are raising, amongst others that I've spoken about? I know the key issues are around water and electricity and water leakages and electricity outages, etc. But if you just can highlight the key issues that you all receive or come across on a regular basis and how you all deal with those issues.
Okay, with regards to the sewer and stormwater issues, there is no maintenance that has been done. And when residents report the issues, the turnaround time for them to even come out to assist us is outrageous from the department. So due to heavy rains that KZN experiences, we recently experienced our April flooding. Homes get flooded due to the non-maintenance of manholes. And these manholes cannot accommodate the heavy water pressure, which causes the flooding. And when the sewer is blocked, it actually causes the overflow. And the stench is actually unbearable and it poses a huge health risk. So the culvert that runs around alongside Amgeni Road into Foxglove Place, which runs into the Amgeni River, due to the non-maintenance being done, the culvert collects debris, dirt, rocks, and it causes a buildup of water and the water logs, which leads to possible flooding of the area. The other issue that we do face is the parks and gardens, which are actually non-existent in our area, and therefore don't do regular cleanup operations of the verges, the cutting of the grass, etc. And they actually rely on a local NPO that is currently doing the job that they are getting paid for, which is totally not on. The local community cannot enjoy the beauty of the parks due to the vagrants roaming around in the parks, which causes a huge security risk, and petty crimes are on the increase due to the grass being so huge that anybody hiding in the parks cannot even be seen. So these are some of the issues. And the other is the police services are so poor. Patrols are lessened in our area. We do have our local security company like Stoa that comes on board to assist. But the turnaround time of the local police to attend to these crime-related issues are not even being dealt with on time. And we need proactive policing in our area from the local police that are designated to our area. And actually the water and electricity, as you did mention before, when the reference numbers are escalated to the proper departments, the turnaround time to get even a water tanker or even the electricity department to assist with faults takes hours or even days to assist. The local community members actually have to get private contractors to assist with water tankers because we know the departments won't even assist us at the time. And we have elderly folks in our area and babies that require basic necessities like water and electricity. So we also get the other local ratepayers association to come on board, and the voice is actually bigger when you collaborate with other associations. Actually, the other ratepayers association. So our chairperson, which is Mr. Stavros Pillay, would also like to thank our neighboring ratepayers association for filling out the petition and getting the numbers that were required for opposing the new Jadu Place proposed project, which can actually cause a huge problem in the near future. So yes, and even our road maintenance is actually a huge issue as well. Infrastructure, after the floodings, the infrastructure is so bad that we as residents of the area actually fright when there is heavy rains, because after that flooding, we don't know what to expect because municipality have not come to the party at all. So that is why the Civic Association, the Springfield Ratepayers Association and other Ratepayers Association play such a huge role in communities, because it's actually thinking about we now doing the job that local government's supposed to be doing and municipalities.
Now, Trinisha, I mean, a lot of important issues you're raising. Have your organization or your executive escalated this to the leadership of a eThekwini municipality, that is the mayor's office, to the departmental heads? Because we've had several programs of this nature in the last couple of weeks, and it is a common complaint that's coming through from ratepayers associations throughout the city. The service delivery has literally collapsed.
Yes.
There's minimal service delivery, and ratepayers are now questioning, why should they pay rates and utility charges when you're getting minimal service delivery? I had Asad Ghaffar from the eThekwini ratepayers movement a few weeks ago in the studio, and he says they're challenging council, and all they hearing is that we're dealing with the matter, and we know that there's been complaints coming through that officials are not doing their work. Many of them are not at work. They're getting huge salaries from the coffers of the ratepayers, but in return, there's minimal service delivery. So the question I'm raising is, has your executive raised this with the necessary authorities? And if so, what response has been received?
Yes, we have made numerous attempts to the municipalities, and I think all ratepayers association are finding that it's the same problems that we face. And when we do escalate and when we do email and to the department heads, it's so long that we have to wait for a response from them. So yes, so that is why the local community members actually go out and do our own research, and we actually help our residents ourselves, because waiting for a turnaround time from the municipality takes forever. So we have sent numerous emails, escalations, and so it is something that we as the Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association has collaborated with other neighboring Ratepayers Association to have a louder voice in our issues that we are facing. So we've also part of ERRA, eThekwini Residents and Ratepayers Association, that is a lot of the Durban Ratepayers Association have collaborated together to combat these issues with municipalities that we are currently facing. Yes.
Now the cause for concern is, our various residents are raising with us as Al Ansar that we're having these radio shows weekly. Issues are being raised. Municipalities just responding to emergency issues. Planned maintenance is not being done. Infrastructure is being neglected. I'm going to interview one of the members of parliament shortly on a committee that's been formed at a national level to deal with infrastructure challenges throughout the country, Fasia Hassan. She is part of a portfolio committee dealing with electricity upgrades. Other ratepayer associations have indicated that they are mobilizing to ensure that come 2026, they want to change the leadership, because the leadership appoints officials and these officials are not delivering. So we have 3 minutes before the news break. What is Springfield Ratepayers Association's plan of action? With the other ratepayers, are you planning to mobilize in preparation for 2026 now, so that you'll have 18 months to bring about a change? Like you mentioned, the councillor, is hardly around to assist the ward councillor and PR councillor. So they're of no value to the area. So what's your plan of action as Springfield Civic and Ratepayers Association?
Yes, we are mobilizing to do that for the 2026 elections, and we have collaborated with our neighboring ratepayers associations as well. We also appeal to the residents, make your vote count during elections. And I know the frustrations of our residents, and it's they vote, but there is no positive action that takes place. But remember, if you don't vote, your vote is actually going to the lead, to the current party. So we advise the residents to please make your vote count. You are a resident and you are a ratepayer. So, change comes only when you put in action. And there's so much that only a civic organization can do. But then we ask the public to come on board and the community to come on board and partner with us and collaborate together. They say many hands make a louder noise. So together we can actually make our voice heard. If you place in your emphasis on a specific organization to fight your battle, it is not going to happen. But if you're going to come on board and say, let's join forces, let's come together as a whole community, because we need change, especially in our area, since we have a non-existent councillor, actually, you can say that. And yes, so if we want change, change starts within us, and we got to make the change and say, you know what, enough is enough, and let me go and make my vote count.
Thank you, Tanisha. We'll continue with this discussion after the news break. I think you set the scene for comments from the Member of Parliament at National Legislature, and we'll touch briefly on government's oversight on service delivery now that they're concerned about what the ratepayers are saying, and we'll unpack some of the issues you raise after the news break.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al Ansar News.
Making news this hour, 27th of November. The news from Durban 90.4 FM, Pietermaritzburg 105.6 FM. KwaZulu-Natal disaster teams are on standby amid weather warnings. America Monina. Local government authorities say disaster management teams are on standby amid a warning for severe thunderstorms for today. The Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs spokesperson Senzelo Mzila says areas that will be affected include Jozini, Mandeni Mvoti, Abakulisi, Big Five, Hlabisa, and Edumbe, and a host of others. Mzila says the residents should take care as roads, settlements, and low-lying areas could be flooded. More news now. Teguni Mayor Cyril Abe has confirmed that 4 of the city's 23 beaches are temporarily closed due to elevated E. coli levels. He says the decision, as a precautionary measure, is to ensure public safety. In 2023, many of Durban's beaches faced closures due to pollution and heavy rainfall. Abe says illegal sewer connections to stormwater drains remain a significant issue, contributing to the contamination of rivers and the sea. He says the city is ready for the upcoming festive season, adding that there are efforts to address water quality and maintain key attractions. More news now. Minister of Electricity and Energy Kosiento Ramakopa says most of the customers who did not come forward to upgrade their meter numbers by the end of the deadline are people who have not been buying electricity. Ramakopa had been briefing the media in Cape Town on the progress made regarding the process of recoding meter numbers. Eskom has since extended the deadline for the process of recoding meters to the 13th of December. Ramakopa is waiting in on that.
So this window that we have created of until the 13th of December, now it's a credit control window. So what do I mean by credit control window? You can't present yourself, you get to be regularized, and then the Eskom will use its own judgment, temper fine once they get to understand the reasons why you had taken the route that you had taken. and the maximum temper fine is at 6,000, like I said, spread over a period of 12 months. And then you'll have in that category of people who will be attended to in that period, people who don't have meters at all, people who's been bypassing meters, and the need now is for us to do a replacement of those meters, and ESCOM will do a replacement of those meters, and that of course also comes at the cost of replacement.
More news now. Police are probing human trafficking and slave labor in Steelfontein in the northwest. It comes after a group of teenagers emerged from an abandoned mine shaft. A report says 96 of over 1,000 miners that have emerged are underage. They claim they were held captive by heavily armed men and forced to work against their will. At the same time, lawyers for human rights may head to courts to get humanitarian aid to the miners. Tembile Botman is a community leader. He is wading in.
There is footprint on where we're coming from with this. If you remember, in the meetings that we were sitting with the authorities, one of the mine managers reported that there were 14 people at that time, at the end of, I think in the beginning of November, that came from Margaret Shaft. And these people, they gave us the analysis with the authorities to say, underground, there's 3 groups. This is the information that the authority knows but doing nothing with it. So to us, when we hear that, it was not a new thing, but it also has questions in it where people, resurfaced at that time. And you guys were called at that time to go at the scene. Whilst when we were saving people that we saw that they were weak, they did not have strength, they refused. Authority refused that you guys even go few meters to the shaft. Why now? Why this?
In your international story, Lebanon's prime minister says the Israeli regime must fully commit to the recent ceasefire agreement that is expected to end the regime's months-long deadly escalation against the country. Najib Mikati says he demands Israel's full commitment to the ceasefire agreement, withdrawal from all areas, and implementation of Resolution 1701, referring to the resolution that was ratified by the United Nations Security Council in 2006 in an attempt to end a deadly war by the regime against the country. The remarks come after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accepted a ceasefire deal following a meeting of his security cabinet to discuss the relevant proposal that had been put forward by the United States and France. In your weather, it's 20 degrees. A quick reminder of our top story. Local government authorities say disaster management teams are on standby amid a warning for severe thunderstorms for KwaZulu-Natal today. That's the news.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7, 365.
As promised at last year's Durban Summer Cirque, part of our profits will go to making a real difference in our community. The Al-Ansar Foundation proudly completed its first borehole for the community of Redcliffe. With water shortages affecting many, our mission is clear. Let's bring clean water to more areas in need. Join us in making an impact. Call Outreach on 031-208-1601 or visit alansar.org.za to help build more boreholes and transform lives.
There are over 200 million orphans globally. We can't help all of them, but what if we each helped just one? The Al Imdad Foundation now gives you an opportunity to help just one orphan from Syria or Palestine. For just 500 Rand per month, you can help safeguard the dignity of an orphan by assisting them with basic needs such as food, clothing, shelter, medical care, and attention. Our orphan sponsorship program allows you to track the progress of your orphan through regular feedback. Make a difference in the life of an orphan today. Visit alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Razia, have you heard about the Durban Summer Souk? It's happening from the 24th of December to the 5th of January at the Durban Exhibition Centre.
Wait, 300 stalls, local and international shopping? That sounds amazing. But what else is there? I mean, it's summer. We need some fun.
Oh, it's much more. There's food stalls, everything from pizza to sushi to street food. I'm already planning to have a little cheat day.
Food is definitely a win, but I heard there's entertainment every day too. Tell me this carnival rides. You know I love a bit of nostalgia.
Yes, carnival games, funfair rides, the whole shebang. It's got something for everyone. Kids, families, even us grown-ups who want to just relive our childhood.
Okay, you've convinced me. And don't forget the prizes they're giving away. I could totally use a new handbag or maybe even a weekend getaway.
Right. Imagine walking away with a huge prize and a full belly of food. Plus, it's open from midday to midnight, so we can make a whole day of it.
That sounds like the perfect summer plan. Let's do it. Durban Summer Souk, here we come.
Join Huda SA as we raise funds to complete phase 2 of the finishes of the Ilovo Masjid construction. We humbly request your generous Sadaqah Ejariya and Lillah donations. Your contribution helps build a masjid and earn everlasting rewards. For more information, contact Huda SA on 031 271 3049 or visit www.huda-int.org. Act now and earn your share of sawab. Donate today. Huda SA, building communities, strengthening faith.
Radio Al-Ansar.
Salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who lives in the hearts of billions.
हमने आंखों से देखा नहीं है मगर हमने आंखों से देखा नहीं है मगर उनकी तस्वीर सीने में मौजूद है
जिसने ला कर दिया है कलामे खुदा, जिसने ला कर दिया है कलामे खुदा, वो मुहम्मद मदीने में मौजूद है। फूल खिलते हैं पढ़ पढ़ के सल्ले अला, फूल खिलते हैं पढ़ पढ़ के सल्ले अला, झूम कर कह रही है ये बातें सबा, ऐसी खुशबू चमन के गुलों में कहाँ, ऐसी खुशबू चमन के गुलों में कहाँ, जो नबी के पसीने में मौजूद है। हमने माना कि जन्नत बहुत है हंसी, हमने माना कि जन्नत बहुत है हंसी, छोड़ कर हम मदीना ना जाए कहीं, यूं तो जन्नत में सब है मदीना नहीं, और जन्नत मदीने में मौजूद है। छोड़ना तेरा तैबा गवारा नहीं, छोड़ना तेरा तैबा गवारा नहीं, सारी दुनिया में ऐसा नजारा नहीं, ऐसा मंजर ज़माने ने देखा नहीं, ऐसा मंजर ज़माने ने देखा नहीं, जैसा मंजर मदीने में मौजूद है। ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह। जबकि सरकार तशरीफ लाने लगे, हुरो गिलमा भी खुशियाँ मनाने लगे, हर तरफ नूर की रोशनी छा गई, मुस्तफा क्या मिले जिंदगी मिल गई, हलीमा तेरी गोद में आ गए, दोनों आलम के रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, दोनों आलम के रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, जश्न आमद रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह, बीबी आमना के फूल अल्लाह
मुस्तफा जब दिखाया गया छुप गए तारे और चांद शर्मा गया आमीना देख कर मुस्कुराने लगी हवा मरियम भी खुशियां मनाने लगी आमीना बीबी सबसे ये कहने लगी दुआ हो गई कबूल अल्लाह दुआ हो गई कबूल अल्लाह ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह शादियां ने खुशी के बजाए गए शाद के नगमे सबको सुनाए गए हर तरफ शोर सल्ले आला हो गया आज पैदा हबीबे खुदा हो गया फिर तो जिब्रील ने भी ऐलान किया ये खुदा के हैं रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह ये खुदा के हैं रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह जिसने आमद रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह जिसने आमद रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह मुहम्मदुर रसूलुल्लाह
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International, broadcasting on the frequency Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Marisburg 105.6 FM, and audio streaming on www.alansar.org.za. With the state of service delivery, the way it is in the country and the frustration that people are facing, I thought let me play a few beautiful nasheeds to enlighten our listeners out there. We tried to reach Fasia Hassan, MP from National Legislature. She's caught in Parliament. Believe me, people are working till the late hours to deal with issues. But she sent us a clip that I want to play of, one of the portfolio committees she's been involved with and what they plan to do to improve the electricity infrastructure. So please catch a listen to this clip.
Hi, my name
That was a brief clip sent to us by Fasia Hassan, a Member of Parliament in the National Legislature, where government is now getting involved in service delivery at a local government level. And last week we dealt with various ratepayer associations where they were concerned about service delivery in their areas. And we had a quick report back from the forum that was formed by a national government to support eThekwini municipality. We understand that the Section 1454 report that Mike Sutcliffe has been involved with is ready and was submitted to the executive committee of the municipality, and details of that we'll try to unpack going forward. To continue with our discussion, I'd like to welcome our economist and asset manager, Brother Hassan Mutala. Hassan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Ansar International.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hassan, the DA calls for an intervention in Msunduzi municipality because they say the debts are spiraling to 7 billion. Now, I understand that is about 4 times as much in the Tekwani municipality. And you mentioned previously that the Auditor General has expressed concern that on the one side, the municipality is complaining that they don't have funding to execute service delivery. On the other side, you have corruption, maladministration at its all-time high. But you have debt recovery at an all-time high also. There's huge amounts of funds that are outstanding. And whether the municipality officials are not doing their work, or alternatively, the system does not allow them to recover the debt, but it's cause for concern with such large amounts of money outstanding as debt that spirals, and this results in funding not being available for service delivery. Hassan?
Sure. I think the big issue is obviously the non-recovery of service of debt. You know, if you look at ESCOM, as we said, was the debt from municipalities moved from about 9 billion in 2010, is moved to about 90 billion as of last year. That's a massive amount. So you've had obviously a non-payment culture that has crept into many municipalities over the years, and what the result is that the debt levels that we're currently facing, both in municipalities, provinces, metros, if this continues at this rate, is going to be unsustainable. And with the result will result in the complete collapse and breakdown of many of these organizations. Now, we cannot allow that to happen. You have to firstly address the issue around, firstly, non-payment. Non-payment, if somebody is getting a service, they must pay for it. Now, if you look at many of the municipalities, there's obviously cross-subsidization taking place, a lot of that taking place. But you have many townships and many areas across the country that are receiving services, they're not paying for it. And that, unfortunately, has continued now for a number of years, and it has just accelerated. Second issue, if you look at the budgets of across the municipalities and the provinces and the metros, a big portion now that's going towards the debt is basically being eaten away in the budget. For example, from a South African perspective, 21 cents of every rand is going towards servicing just debt costs. That's massive. Secondly, if you look at the wage bill, and I've highlighted this many a times, many of the people that are being employed across municipalities or metros and the public sector, the wage bills are a massive part of the overall budget. So when your budget is being contributed mainly towards the wages of the public sector, and then secondly towards the debt servicing costs, that leaves a very small portion and amount that goes towards maintenance and infrastructure. And that's the big issue we're facing. You can take a drive around anywhere, whether it's in Overport, Asheville, Springfield, Musgrave, most of the areas. Leave alone us. Take a drive in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is an absolute disaster. If you look at, there was an article yesterday run by, was it yesterday or today? I think it was on MoneyWeb that ran it. The author showed going back to 2010, and he showed Johannesburg in 2023, and he gave proper examples of pictures showing you different streets, different suburbs, and showing you in 2010 or 2009, that was just when Zuma came into power, 2009, and he looked at it now in 2023. So prior to Zuma coming into power, when Mbeki ran it and President Mandela ran it in the 15 years before that, and now there was a substantial deterioration in Johannesburg over that 14 years. Massive deterioration. I mean, you can see, for example, whether it's the Johannesburg CBD or even in areas, prominent areas, you can even take a drive through Houghton in certain parts. Who would think like Houghton, supposed to be a high-end prime area, but has got potholes in many of the roads that you're driving into? It's just a reflection of the fact that, unfortunately, the corruption and the maladministration that has taken place over the last 15 years has resulted in a substantial deterioration in service delivery. And more importantly as well, it has resulted in our infrastructure now not being maintained to the level that it should be. The third thing to highlight is, over the last 30 years, we have had massive urbanization. You got to bear in mind, people always talk about prior 1994, everything was fantastic, it was very good, we had this, we had that. Yes, okay, we lived in certain, everybody lived in certain, whether it was an Indian area, colored area, white, but the predominant services and the best infrastructure and everything was largely in the predominantly white areas. However, remember, post-1994, we have had massive urbanization. A huge amount of people have moved now from the rural areas and have moved into the suburbs. We have not addressed that properly. With the result, you've got a huge amount of informal settlements across the various municipalities and suburbs throughout the country. Now, you have had that in terms of with this increasing amount of people living in those suburbs, where, for example, a certain suburb was meant to accommodate only 10,000 people. Today, that same suburb, the infrastructure has not changed in terms of water infrastructure, in terms of sewage infrastructure, in terms of various other services that are provided, is now catering to 25,000 people. That's more than double or triple in terms of what the infrastructure can cater for. And that's the issue. You haven't had proper planning in terms of, proper planning around town planning and municipality planning that has taken place over the last 20 years. And we are now seeing the issues and the challenges because of that. That, unfortunately, will take time to address. You need to change, firstly, the people that are employed so they have the necessary skills to address that. And as everything, unfortunately, it's either bureaucracy or politics and the like will take time to address those type of issues, but we have to address those issues over time. Now, you talked about earlier that, one of the MPs sits on this committee. Hopefully, they will make some progress, but at the end of the day, it has to filter through to all the municipalities across the country, and you have to see it starting to come through. Yunus, one thing I just want to highlight around this whole corruption and the like. The Auditor General came out with a report today, in fact, talking about the provincial and national departments. She came out with the latest audit outcomes on provincial and national departments. Surprisingly, one positive outcomes, slightly positive news, if I can say, around audits. For the first time, we're seeing slightly better audit outcomes than what we had seen previously for provincial and national departments. To put it into perspective, around a third of the 415, so that means 142 of the auditees received clean audits. This is a substantial improvement on what we had seen previously. Secondly, you have seen actually that even on the those that have received audits with findings, there was actually about just over 40% of the auditees received an qualified audit with findings. Again, not a very great outcome, but still slightly better than what we had seen previously. However, an issue that still remains is the issue around fruitless expenditure, corrupt expenditure. That remains. And with the result, you've seen around close to 40 billion or so of irregular and fruitless expenditure being incurred during this last period. That still remains a big issue. Imagine what 40 billion, if it was spent appropriately, what impact it could have in terms of infrastructure, services, and maintenance. And that again still remains a challenge. So I think they're making, at least during this last year, within the provincial and national departments and entities, at least slight improvements are starting to come through, but the big issues around the material irregular expenditure and fruitless expenditure still remains a big concern and a big challenge. And this is not only in provincial and national. We've seen it being a massive issue within the municipalities and the metros across the country as well.
Hassan, some very important points you mentioned, and there was a court ruling that sounds dire warning for municipal officials that they could be held liable for the financial losses as a result of, irregular expenditure and fruitless expenditure. But I want to read a comment from one of the listeners where he mentioned Raymond Zondo did his part and handed the ball to the NPA. Unfortunately, the NPA is nothing but a weak organization led by a weak, incompetent leader. Now, MK Party is saying that NPA is captured. Now, in response, Shamila Batoy, who's the head of the NPA, defends NPA's slow progress, which I mentioned earlier, in prosecuting cases South Africans aren't impressed. She said that the National Prosecution Authority has been criticized for failing to prosecute a lot of cases. NPA head Shamila Batoy explained that they face challenges like shortage of skilled people. South Africans have lashed out at Batoy and her poor excuses regarding the NPA's progress. So clearly South Africans are not happy because they thought with the Zondo Commission report, there will be a swift arrests. I read out there were a few arrests, but Shamila explained that they face several challenges including skill shortages and complex cases. However, the layman in the street, if you walk into Sparks Road in Overport or Crescent Street or R.D. Naidu Road in Springfield or in Pietermaritzburg in the Centrum area, and if you look at the state of the roads, the number of potholes that are damaging the people's vehicles, and the people who are paying for utilities and who are paying rates are expecting basic service delivery, and that is not prevalent. And they're beginning to question that municipalities are coming up with all kinds of excuses. Politicians are coming up with excuses. Come elections, they promise the world, and this is the song that is being sung all the time, and very little or nothing is being done because of the various excuses like incompetent officials, incompetent politicians. Large amounts of money is being squandered on fruitless expenditure. NPA is not recovering this money. And then the municipality and the government is saying that we don't have budgets to deal with these basic issues, which was done in the past. Agreed that there are infrastructure challenges because of the extra amount of people that those wards are servicing. For example, if there was a stormwater in a particular area and there was a limited number of residents, it catered for that. But because of the emergence of informal settlements, now the sewer and the waste and stormwater is going down the same drains, and it cannot take that load, hence you're having various challenges. Now the question that the people are raising is over and above 2026, when we'll try to change the leadership, will we be able to change the composition of council? Because even if you bring in, maybe about 8 or 10 new councillors, they may still be in the minority. So it might be business as usual. Now, residents and some of the ratepayer associations went to court, and they took a Tikperi municipality to court, ERPM, and said, we're withholding rates. We're putting it into a trust account pending you dealing with all our service delivery challenges. And the court ruled in favor of the municipality. And they say that the Municipal Systems Act and Structural Acts prohibits you from holding back a payment for service charges and rates on account of non-delivery. But I know people are still pursuing that agenda because that's the only way you're going to get the municipality to improve service delivery if you withhold the funding that they're using and squandering. So the question they're raising with us is, Are you basically hopeful, or are we in a hopeless situation from a financial perspective, Hassan?
Sure.
I know we want to talk about GNU and the improvement of the markets. That's positive. But 60% of our communities are living below the poverty line. There's 35% unemployment. They cannot see light at the end of the tunnel. With the low grants they're getting, with the unemployment, people are struggling. Not only those in the informal settlements who are also revolting against those leaders, but other communities are battling to eke out a living. So whilst we appreciate that there's a lot of potential in South Africa, but if 75% of our municipalities are receiving qualified audit reports and there's no change in the foreseeable future, how do we address this from a financial perspective, Hassan? I know I'm trying to put a very awkward question to you, but when I walk in the streets, our innocent residents are raising this issue in Sparks Road, in Grey Street, in Brickfield Road, in Long Market Street in Pietermaritzburg, in Church Street in Pietermaritzburg. I know those were name changes, but we remember those names. And they say the potholes are getting bigger, people's tires are getting damaged, their rooms are getting damaged, security is out of control, there's too much infighting against politicians. I've said a lot. Hassan, is there any potential solution to the problem over and above hope?
Sure. If the residents are relying solely on the political parties and their respective councils to turn things around, then there's no hope. You have to be actively involved, whether it's through the ratepayers associations or other civic organizations. You have to play a part. Who would have thought 12 months ago that the ANC would not be in power? Nobody thought. Everybody still thought that the ANC will still have largely 50% or more power. Who would have thought 12 months ago that Botswana will have a new government after the ruling party has ruled for a number of years like the ANC? They've now got an opposition party that rules Botswana. Things can change. They can change if you make the effort and if you get actively involved. You cannot sit back, just sit on your armchair and be a critic using either your WhatsApp phone on the phone or things and just want to criticize, but not play a meaningful role. You have to play a meaningful role. That is one of the key ways that can be involved. Secondly, we have to have people from within the respective communities to start playing an active part in politics, to play an active part in what you call municipal management and things like that. You know, not everybody has to be a doctor or a scientist or an accountant. There's a role to be in politics. There's a role to be in municipal management, things like that. You must be active. We have to start grooming our sort of communities and our kids as they're doing the education, grooming them towards careers in these areas so that they can play a part. So this is a long-term thing I'm talking about. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere, and you have to play. 10 years ago, the ratepayers associations were very few and far between. Today, there's a number of them, and they're playing a fantastic part. Whether it's the Overport ratepayers, Springfield, Musgrave ratepayers, they're actually making. I'll give you an example. I live in the Musgrave area. If you look at 12, 18 months back, 60% of the lights, street lights in many of the areas were not working, or there were some issues with them. Today, I'd say probably 70 to 80% of them are working. And it was mainly through the efforts of the ratepayers hounding and moving and putting steps in progress to try and address these issues. Similarly, other issues, whether it's uncut hedges or other issues around potholes, or if you repair this, the fact is that there's a concerted effort being done by the residents to have an improvement in the areas that they are residing in. That's an important part. Yunus, the issue around the fact is, yes, I think you remember we are going through tough times, not only South Africa, but everybody in many countries throughout the world are going through challenges. Now, South Africa unemployment is high. It was about 34%. It's slowly come back to about 32%, but it's still high. And particularly amongst the younger generation, anywhere between 16 to 25, there's a very high unemployment rate between that age group in particular, and that will take some time to address. I think what needs to happen is that you need to firstly encourage businesses to invest and to operate in here. To do that, we have to have some improvement in terms of services and infrastructure. That has to happen. I think where I am getting some hope and positivity. 12 months ago, everybody thought that South Africa was going to be in a dark hole and we would be without energy and light for many hours in the day for years to come. 12 months on, or more like 6 months, you can say 200 or 210 days or whatever it may be, we haven't had load shedding. We've had maybe some load reduction and whatever they want to call it, but we haven't really had load shedding for over 6 months. Why? Because there was a concerted effort now by the public and private sector. The private sector has spent a massive amount of money in terms of putting in alternative energy across their businesses and the like. Homes have also put in, when there was incentives given, many homes put in solar and helped in terms of taking the load off from the ESCOM and the national grid. That has had a positive impact on the country. It has a positive impact on businesses. Now you're seeing small and medium enterprises are actually operating at 100% throughout the day. Unlike previously when load shedding, they had to operate for 2 hours, then they're getting 2 hours load shedding, then begin to restart again, and then in a few hours' time again. Small and medium enterprises don't have the luxury to have those to operate like that. They have to have consistent power. They cannot afford, in many cases, these alternative energies. So you've seen small and medium enterprises have now had an improvement in their businesses over the last 6 months because of consistency. Now, I think if that type of public and private partnership takes place in the water sector, it takes place in the logistics sector, there will be some improvements in that over the next few years. But you have to see those steps coming through, and you have to see it being followed through as well going forward. I think the big issue and the big concern still remains around the fact that you've got such a bloated workforce that had within the public sector, municipalities, many of the departments that unfortunately don't have the necessary skills. And that remains an issue in terms of service delivery. Now, the finance minister, a few months ago, when he announced this, he announced now in October, the midterm budget, he talked about early retrenchment and the like for some employees, which will reduce the workforce and reduce the bill. And they're trying to attract still very skilled employees. In fact, they're telling some of the retired engineers and those that have, certain skills that we require, they're encouraging them to come back and help them in terms of upskilling the workforce and providing the necessary skills within the various state-owned enterprises. I think that's, again, some positive news, because that will try to address the skills shortage and the skills gap we're facing in many of our state-owned enterprises and also in some of the municipalities. I mean, to give you an example, Yunus, you know perfectly well in terms of eThekwini, Mike Sutcliffe got brought in, and he is now trying to obviously address and see some of the challenges and the like. But hopefully we'll see more of that in terms of those that have the experience and the skills coming in, playing a part in terms of helping the various public enterprises upskill and obviously move forward as well.
Hassan, I just want to throw the spanner in the works today, because when I'm walking around, people are telling me, you have the ratepayer associations, and I'll bring back Trinisha briefly. She raised a lot of these issues, and they're getting frustrated. MK Party says that NPA is captured, and it's ironical that they are making this noise because Dr. John Shlope said the President Ramaphosa was guilty of tax evasion for failing to disclose money that was stolen. He's talking about the Pala issue. MK party said that they would raise the matter during Parliament's question and answer when that has been dealt with. But the MKP convener, who is Willis Mchunu, he was a former premier of KZN. He reckoned MKP sets its sights on a Tekweni. Ironically, MK was a breakaway party from the ANC that was captured under the leadership of Jacob Zuma. So the reality is that the former government caused the problems that the NPA has now been battling to deal with. And they are now in a situation where they mentioned that the coalition government was formed after no single party won majority in May 29 national and provincial elections. This was to deny the MKP a chance to govern the province, that is KZN. MKP achieved significant provincial success in the elections, securing 37 seats, nearly half of the 80 available seats. With 45% of the province's vote, MKP expressed confidence in its ability to govern the province. But we know clearly that the GPU has taken over, which was a 50% plus one, with the DA, IFP and NFP having that one vote. Now, Martin Mayer said that they have a stable government, not one where members change daily, a relevant point. He's saying in the GPU, we have a caring government. In the GPU, we have a government that defends the constitution. In the GPU, we have a doing government. All thanks to the people of KZN for giving the constitutional parties, including the DA 50 plus 1, Mayor said. He extended gratitude to the people of KZN for choosing pro-constitutional democracy parties. Now, he's now saying that a government that is accused of stealing from society's most vulnerable and leaders who think they are above the law, it is little wonder that they want to make the law subservient to them. So meanwhile, MKP is intensifying its plans to dismantle the KZN GPU ahead of the local government elections. And Willis Mchunu on Wednesday said that the party's ambitions for the upcoming local government elections is that they're saying that because they had a significant success in the provincial and national elections, he says that they are confident that they will control a Tekweni. So on the one side, you have the ratepayer associations wanting change in leadership. On the other side, you have MKP that says that the ANC has messed up and they want to take over municipalities throughout the country. And you have their leader, former President Jacob Zuma, making all kinds of allegations against the ANC. So that created the split. You have the Democratic Alliance now accusing both the governments of maladministration, etc. And then on the other hand, you have the Ratepayer Association saying that either way, there's no improvement in service delivery. The GPU is saying that watch us for the 2026 elections. With our coalition, we will rule most municipalities. So I want to bring in Tanisha Bachu back on air. We have 15 minutes left before our closure. Tanisha, you heard our economist chatting that he's got confidence that with the government of national unity, the province of national unity, where the ANC, DA, and the IFP and other smaller parties have formed a coalition government, and markets are responding positively, tourism is improving, but you guys are complaining as ratepayers that you're not seeing improvement in service delivery. Our economist is saying that there is some improvement. From your ratepayers' point of view, is the situation getting progressively worse, or do you see some degree of improvement in your area, Springfield?
Well, there is a slight improvement, but it's not where we as ratepayers want to be.
There's no value for money,
There's no value for money because, I mean, ratepayers pay huge amounts of rates. And then you see your neighbors don't pay rates at all, and they get things for free.
Basic services.
Yes, basic services for free. And I want to reiterate what Mr. Sen Watala had said around Ratepayers Association collaborating. And it is so important because we've seen the the service delivery and issues being dealt with when we come together as a ratepayer, the Ratepayers Association, and it is great work that has been put in by community members, the residents, that says enough is enough and we need to work together. And as I did mention before, all residents need to come to the party. Coming to 2026, cast your vote, because as I mentioned earlier, your voice will make a difference. As Mr. Mutala has mentioned, that yes, your voice makes a difference and change happens within you, as I did mention earlier on. So come together and make your voice be heard, because if you don't make your voice heard and if you don't fight the good fight, your generation to come, your kids that are growing up are going to face the brunt of all the wrongs that are going on. But if you teach them as they're growing up to vote and to be a community participant, an activist, and show them the value, so the younger generation have more energy and they will say, let me also continue in this legacy to make sure that the place that I call home is a comfortable and a place that I can call home, and we are safe in the environment that we live in. And yes, like our basic necessities like water, electricity, sewer, stormwater, all of that can be better placed at in the hands of our residents if we all come together and play our equal role in society.
I'm going to ask you a very difficult question. If you're able to answer, otherwise guess. I'm going to take you back to history.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1980s, when we had the Sydenham Ratepayers Associations coming to the municipality
Mm-hmm.
and telling the white government that we're going to throw you guys out because you are providing service delivery on an apartheid basis. You are servicing the white areas and you're neglecting black areas, and we're going to throw you all out. They made the statement because they knew come the next elections, they're going to have the majority of votes to throw the government, which took place, which resulted in service delivery in all the other areas, the Amlazis, the Kwamashus, which was necessary because there was very little or no service delivery in those areas. So they had the support to make the change. Now you have a situation with the ratepayer associations in the minority areas, and you have the informal settlements around you. Practically, those informal settlements appointed the councillor that is ineffective in your particular area because he was elected by residents of the informal settlements. So his sharp focus is to improve the service delivery in the informal settlements. Now, how do you plan as Ward 25 residents to bring about a change, knowing very well that you have a number problem, your number crunching is out? Are you going to basically strategize and work out who hasn't registered to vote? Because this is reality. Now we're talking reality. You have to make change because fundamentally, even if you make the change and you have somebody from the minority community winning that ward, at council, the numbers may not equate and you may still have a problem removing those officials. So have you considered your plan of action to have a change in that ward? Because I'm addressing all the other ratepayer associations to look at this critically in your strategic plan going forward to 2026. Because I just read that MKP sets its sight on a eThekwini, and who they're targeting, their voters from the various townships, including the minority areas, because they do have support in the different wards. So what's your strategy briefly, if you thought about it? And then how do you feel that you're going to be successful in making a change in this particular ward? Because you've got to chip away, like what I've been explaining you happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was emphasizing on voting. Our ward lost the vote from a resident in our area by 5% due to...
It was close as that?
Yes, due to the lack of votes from the residents
They
in
didn't
the area.
register to vote, and which consequently they disqualified for voting.
Yes.
So you believe it's not a hard game to really make a change?
No, it's not.
You've done your number crunching.
Yes, if Springfield alone has approximately plus minus 650 homes only in Springfield.
And an average of 3 voters per home, you're saying?
Exactly. So we also tell the residents, don't register, register, but then don't vote. That's not right. Register and vote. Your vote matters. And you need to make your vote count. And, as Mr. Mutala did mention, there's no point being a critic over WhatsApp or social media where you need to physically come to the party. And yes, we know that the local councillor is not playing his role. But how many residents do we have sitting on their chairs and not voting? That is the main problem that we are facing.
How are you going to convince them to register to vote and vote? What strategy are you going to use?
So our strategy is to get someone from the local area that has been a huge, phenomenal community activist, assisting the community with a lot of issues, to actually stand as a counselor. And they say, charity begins at home. And when we get somebody from the local area to come on board and stand up as a counselor, we know that he or she will be making a difference in the community. So that's one of the strategies, to get somebody from our local area to actually stand in for local elections, and get the residents to come on board and vote. And I am appealing to the residents of the area of Ward 25 to please come on board and join the Ratepayers Association. Make your voice heard. Be a stronger unit, and never think you're too young or too old to give off some knowledge, because knowledge is power, and you don't know, your one line of thought or advice can make a huge difference. And yes, so we do have meetings that we as a Ratepayers Association host all the time to give clarity and let the community know what's going on in the area, and we advise them to come and be part of this and make a difference, because only you can make a difference. If you want change, only you can make change. So we want to tell the residents out there, come 2026, please make your vote count.
Just to add to what Tridisha mentioned, is the mobilizing process starts now, and the ratepayer associations have to go door to door to establish who has been registered by having a look at the roll, the election roll, and link it up with the addresses and ascertain those that haven't registered. They need to register, even the backyards, etc., in the various areas. And in that ward, do a number crunching. For example, in Ward 25, Clare Estate, Springfield, Puntins Hill, you need to establish the residents of that area, because the overwhelming occupation of the informal settlements does give opposition parties the edge to win those wards, like what Trinisha mentioned, that a handful of voters didn't vote, and whoever stood to be appointed as a ward councillor lost off, primarily because of maybe 20 or 30 people that didn't register to vote. So that number crunching will be done by all ratepayer associations to bring about constructive change and have leadership that will care for the communities. Hassan, your closing comments. We're running out of time. It's a wet evening out there. People are snugged under their blankets. They're tired. They want to sleep. They're tired of hearing the complaints and the challenges. They want the solutions now, and we're dealing with solutions. And we're going to continue on a weekly basis, a certain amount of slots in this News in Focus, interviewing different people, working out strategies. Last week, we spoke about interim strategies, and Ratepayer Association says they will work with the council, with the officials, to get whatever they can And I equate it to a little child. If the child wants something, the child cries and the mother responds and find out the child needs food or needs a dummy or needs some kind of medication to assist with the pain. So the ratepayer associations, they have to rely on the council of the day to get service delivery. And I noticed in the Springfield ratepayer associations, whenever there's an outage, different people respond. They log in complaints and they have reference numbers, and they make sure that electricity department is out there to timelessly deal with issues. So there is a good response to emergency service delivery, but potholes and other things, etc., verge cutting and all, is a huge problem. People need to understand the finances and how the municipality functions, and I'm sure ratepayer associations have attempted to acquire knowledge on how budgets work, etc. But you got 2 minutes. What are your closing comments, Hassan?
Sure. I think we are turning the corner, as a country, as a province, I think there is definitely some turning the corner. I mean, I look at, for example, there was a post by one activist that tends to post a lot, an unnamed activist, I think, that posted. Ghulam.
Yes.
He actually had a good post.
Yes.
He highlighted in one day how many
took place.
How many arrests, how many things have taken place, whether it was the arrest of a kidnapping king with Mozambican national.
Yes.
Then he mentioned that there was arrest of GV4S, one of these security companies.
And Sean Hassan's house was raided.
Sean Nkieza's house was raided. So in one day you had a numerous successes that was done. Fantastic. So that's giving you an idea that there is some positivity taking place. So I think while we will look at things sometimes very negatively when things go wrong, there is some positivity slowly coming in. Unfortunately, when you're driving through the neighborhood and you hit a pothole, again, you damage your tires, then you get obviously upset, you get frustrated, and you say, well, why is there nothing being done, and why is it taking so? Unfortunately, this will take time. It's happening. There is some positive. You look at a majority of the suburbs, what they are today compared to 12 months ago. I think there is some improvements taking place in many of the areas. However, from a national perspective, there are some positives as well. Besides what we talked about now in terms of some of these arrests and the like, inflation has come down. Remember, last year, inflation has shot up massively. The cost of goods and services for us went up a hell of a lot, whether it was, for example, whether it was fruit and veg we were paying for, bread and milk, other products. They were going up 10, 15, 20, 30% in certain cases. Inflation now has come back to around just under 3%. Now, the importance of that is that it shows some stability in terms of goods and services prices over the next couple of months at least. So that gives us some stability and helps us navigate through the tough times that we had faced, especially over the last 12 to 18 months. Secondly, it results in the cost of borrowing starting to come down. The Reserve Bank governor, in fact, reduced rates last week, and hopefully further rates will be reduced going forward. That means then the cost of borrowing, for whether it's for housing or for cars and the like, will start to come down. Again, that helps and creates economic activity, and it helps people to sort of spend and generate economic growth for the country as well. And then thirdly, and very importantly, there is now confidence coming through in terms of both foreign businesses and local businesses in the country. I talked about, over the last few weeks about some of the foreign businesses that are putting in investments, whether it's Amazon in Cape Town, building a huge campus there, or Club Med in North Coast by Tinley Manor, going to put up a massive resort worth, I think close to 2 billion rands over the next 2 years. That's important. But even local businesses, Take a Lot, just is opening up a new new distribution center is just opened up now this past month in the Brickworks Industrial Park. Takealot is a big competitor to Amazon. Again, they're investing in the country, they're investing in our province, and they're investing in the future of this country. So I think there is some positivity, there is some momentum starting to take place. So while we are always in the, we sort of tend to look things sometimes with a doomy and gloomy lens. I think sometimes it's good to see that there is an opportunity for improvement to take place, and we're slowly starting to see some turnaround happening both in our communities, in our province, and also in our country.
Well presented. I think from an economic development point of view and tourism point of view, there is positive sentiment. Tanisha, are you hopeful that we'll get it right? Because the last time Springfield had some reward for government is when I was around and we sold the houses at virtually no cost to the residents. I recall that in Springfield, we provided an extended discount for people to purchase those units, which they did. And then they did, alterations to the units and built up decent units. So that's the last time Springfield had any positive reward from local government. But are you sort of confident that we will get it right? Tanisha, you got 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm confident that we can get it right if both the municipality and residents come together and work together. I think working together makes a huge difference. We can't work against each other, but we have to work together. That will ultimately determine how successful we can become. And yes, I believe that anything is possible. As the government changed, we all thought that ANC is going to win, but fortunately, change happened and positively. And I believe that it can happen within the communities as well, because ratepayers have really put in a lot of work, and we're coming together stronger and better for the best interest of our residents, the civics, and the ratepayers as well. So yes, positively, change can happen for the betterment of the community, for the Durban, for KwaZulu-Natal, and South Africa as a whole.
Yes, I think well said. Congratulations to all the ratepayer associations, because many of them I've interviewed and many to be interviewed. They're very vibrant. They're confident. They want to get involved. They have interim solutions or interim priorities with a view to 2026. Most ratepayers are confident they'll bring about change. That will force municipalities, the officials, and the politicians to be on their toes to improve service delivery. Finally, I recommend that, as residents of the country, we got to support the country, but we got to pray that the leadership changes their thinking, and maladministration, corruption should be something of the past. Priorities are to serve the people, because that's what they've been appointed for. It's a religious duty for all the leaders to enforce service delivery at its highest level, because they've been appointed in trust for the communities, and they must realize they're getting paid to serve the communities, and the funds that are being put into the purses of municipality is for services for the community. They need to look at routine maintenance and cyclical maintenance and infrastructure maintenance, and at the same time ensuring that the needs of the community are taken into account. There's cohesion between local government, provincial government, and national government, and that should be of utmost priority to the leaders, because they're getting well paid for holding those positions, and they must not let the ratepayers down. But to the ratepayers, the struggle continues. Continue with the effort, provide oversight, hold municipalities, provincial and national government accountable, and definitely one can achieve the objective. On that note, that brings us to the end of News in Focus for this evening. I want to thank our guests for joining us in the studio and providing input for a vibrant program this evening. as I mentioned, until the next municipal elections, we will continue to have a segment dealing with different aspects of service delivery, and we'll cover other matters. But I think these are important issues that everyone raises wherever you meet them. They want to see that roads in the area eventually, the potholes are patched up or the roads are resurfaced. The stormwater drains are flowing when it rains. The sewer drains are flowing, that the beaches are available for people to swim, that tourism is on the increase, unemployment is reduced. So all the challenges are dealt with and over time resolved, but at the same time, the needs of the community are being dealt with. Until next Wednesday, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
मिला माँ तेरे दुआओं से माँ तेरी दुआओं से तेरी दुआओं से जहाँ